Welcome to Jen Cares, powered by Chozen Live Podcast. Here we engage in tough talks and meaningful conversations. Each week, we feature a guest that will help us stay in the know. We're a podcast that brings the community to you every Monday at 8 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, be sure to like and follow our page. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe so that you never miss a show. Now, here's your host, Jen Cares.
Oh, well, good evening. Welcome to Jen Cares, powered by Chozen Counselors. I am your host, Jen Cares, the founder of Chozen Counselors, a nonprofit organization that seeks to inspire, motivate, empower, and strengthen individuals and families. As always, I want to say thank you so very much for tuning in. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe so you'll always know when we go live. And if you're on Facebook, be sure to like and follow. Friends, it's been a while. Took a little time off. Why? Because we was aging and living, enjoying, getting a little older and things of that sort. But today, it's about to get good. I do hope that you enjoyed our May series, Aging and Living. We had Shannon Smith, where we talked about impressions. And the key takeaways were knowing your limits, setting boundaries, going to a professional when you need to go to a professional, okay? Being an advocate, seeking professional help, and having patience. Okay. Yep. Go to a professional and seek professional help 2 times. Why? Because we don't always do it. And it's so important that we reach out to somebody when we need support and help, because why? We're not in this alone. We don't have to do this thing alone. There is somebody that can help and support us. So please, for your the impression that you make on somebody else, make sure that impression on your own self is good too, that you're doing good for yourself. Why? Because with the month, we closed out with sanity, okay? We want to make sure that we're doing stuff that keeps us sane. And that can be hard sometimes because we're trying to juggle this thing called life and it gets overwhelming. But guess what, friends? You can make it. I believe in you. I want you to believe in you too. So this month's theme is going to help us to pick up right where we left off. Why? Because I'm stirring trouble and I double dare you. Okay? I'm double daring you. As a kid growing up, the show Double Dare would come on, or I think it was called Double Dare, and they would dare them to do some crazy things. And then people would get on there and do it because they won money and stuff of that sort. But I want to dare you to do some stuff that's going to challenge you and help you to grow. And what do you win? You win a smile on your face and knowing that, I did that. Knowing I did not give up on myself. And if I did mess up, guess what? I'm getting back up again and trying again. So tonight, I'm double daring you to what? Set some boundaries, to be aware of boundaries, okay? To find out what a boundary is, okay? When you're riding on the road, you know what your boundaries are, but sometimes you be like leaning and swerving and things of that sort. Sometimes you had a little extra something to drink. Sometimes you didn't have a little something extra to drink. Sometimes you was a little tired. Sometimes you wasn't tired. But we want to find out about boundaries, okay? Why? Because I double dare you to evaluate them. Do you have any boundaries? All right, let me just get the gas on because I ain't trying to step on your toes already. Stepping on my own toes because there's sometimes I don't have no boundaries either. Jen Cares, the host, don't always, because I've been trying to help the people. I'm like, okay. And then too many okays burn my toes. Right. So tonight we're going to find out about what? Boundaries. Because we all need to make sure that we have them. I missed y'all. I'm excited. I'm talking fast. Just slow me down, repeat it, rewind things if you need to. Know that I am excited to be able to offer this service to everyone that tunes in, likes, comments, and all that stuff. And make sure there's something that you hear that encourages you, you share with somebody else. So let's get to it. Tonight's theme, as shared, the theme for the month is I Double Dare You. And tonight's theme is boundaries. And we have the amazing Renee on tonight. I am so excited to have her. We're going to have a blast and a ball. So help me welcome the amazing Renee.
Amazing. Jen, you are too funny.
How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm excited. Can you tell?
Yes, absolutely.
I ain't never seen too many people excited about talking about someone that kind of gets in your business. But we specialize over here in one, bringing a community to you, but we also do a lot of much needed conversations
Right.
for all communities to hear, because we all need to have boundaries. All communities, all ages,
Yes.
um,
Yes. We do. We
we,
do.
we need to have them.
Yes. We do.
So we gonna get into it tonight.
Okay.
What we do over here is we always start with a quote of the day, and today's quote of the day is: "Lack of boundaries invites lack of respect." Lack of boundaries invites lack of respect. That's anonymous. But what's your thoughts on that quote?
It's true. Not only do you invite others not to respect you, but you're not showing respect to yourself.
Mm,
You're taking care of yourself by not
mm,
having good boundaries. So yeah, it's really important. And in order for you to have strong, healthy relationships, again, respect is key. It's just key.
mm, mm,
So, yep.
mm. I think it was the part that it invites the lack of respect, right? Because we think that it's okay to just let people do this and that and things of that sort, and it causes people to disrespect us. Then we get upset because they disrespecting us.
Exactly.
But
But
have we set
again,
the boundary?
right, we've disrespected ourselves.
We disrespected
So
ourselves.
we gave permission. We
Yes.
gave permission.
Mm,
So yeah, yeah.
mm,
Boundaries
mm,
are
mm.
very important.
Hey, Erica, that's a word indeed. I be picking these quotes and things that serve, but then sometimes when I read again, it kind of hit me like I disrespected my own self
Mhm.
by letting you do whatever it is that you want to do, and then I'm upset. But I
Mhm.
gave you the key.
Yes. Yep. Told you
I
come
gave
on
you the
in.
key.
Yep. Say come on in.
Mm.
Put your feet
Take your
up.
seat. Come on. Yo. Oh. Friends, lack of boundaries invites lack of respect. That's good. That's good. Okay. So, friends, as always, I prepare some questions. But if you have any questions, any thoughts, be sure to drop them down below. Thank you again for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. So, Renee, let's get the formalities out of the way. Who is Renee?
Renee is a Philly girl, born and raised, lived in Philadelphia all my life. Grew up, um, went to Girls High, graduated, went to LaSalle, graduated. Um, when I was in coming out of high school, going into college, I loved psychology, but I got a little intimidated, I'll say it that way, about going into psychology right out of high school and making that my major. I took like a couple of courses and then I thought, I need to do something that's going to provide a good living. So I got a business degree, became an accountant, did that, have been doing that with the city of Philadelphia for 36 and a half years. Yeah, and will be retiring. But in the process,
Congratulations.
thank you. But in the process of doing that, life happens as
Mhm.
it does. And I hit a really difficult period and I sought my own work. I sought my own therapy to help me deal with what I was going through. And I had an aunt who I loved dearly, who unfortunately passed away some years ago, who really was the only person in my family who supported my decision to
Mm,
seek therapy and counseling. So once I did it and, began to really learn about myself, my traumas, my triggers, all of those things, and saw how much it helped me, I thought, yeah, I want to be able to pass this gift along,
yeah.
like particularly for people of color, because I realized how much stigma existed and still does.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, I'm never going to retire, but I need to to move forward with giving back in
Yes.
a meaningful way.
Mm.
And so I went back to school, got my master's, um, and did all the other stuff, took the exams, got my licenses, and started my private practice.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. Been in private practice now just over 7 years,
Okay.
and it's been great, but it has been challenging for sure. But I
Mm.
love I love what I do with my clients. I absolutely love it.
Very nice. Very nice. There's some pieces that you said that I want to tap on just a little bit.
Hmm.
Because we're talking about boundaries tonight, right? And
Hmm.
and speaking of boundaries, one, we have to know what our capacity is
Hmm.
to know what boundary level. I'm so glad I got this water bottle. So when you get the water right, it's always like a little bit right here and things of that
Yeah.
sort.
Yep.
Because and sodas too, especially sodas, because like if you put it too high, it's going to explode sometimes. So
Mm.
even a water bottle, 16.9, can still only have but so much, right? So when we're finding out we're getting too high, we're getting too low, we got to do something about it to get filled up or to let some things go. And you
Yep.
said that you sought your own work, you sought therapy and things of that sort.
Hmm.
Over here, we like to normalize mental wellness, mental
Hmm.
health, mental health, um, because it is a stigma with it. We go to the doctor. I want to say when something is going wrong, but our first step sometimes is you get that ginger ale, you get that cracker, get a peppermint, go lay down and sleep it off. But sometimes
Yes. Yep.
that work requires that we go to somebody else. And I want to just put a ding there, friends. We're normalizing that sometimes you need to talk to somebody.
Yes, you absolutely do. And it can't be your mama or your sister or your daddy or your brother or grandma or auntie, because they are not going to be able to give you
Mm-hmm.
um, the objectiveness that you need.
Mm-hmm.
Your therapist is there to help you kind of take a step back and get a different view of
Mm-hmm.
what may be going on. When you're in it, you usually in it up to you.
Yes.
And it's hard
Yes.
to be able to really be objective and,
Mm-hmm.
and recognize the steps that you may need to take.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, having that person who doesn't have a vested interest in your day to day or that particular situation which you're going through, it absolutely is important to have that other perspective and to help kind of
Mm-hmm.
shift you so that you can maybe see it from a different point of view.
Mm-hmm. So, friends, let me slow down the car for a second. Put on my four-way flashes because gotta take a pause because she said don't go to your mother, don't go to your sister, don't go to your aunt, don't go to them. Now you're like my mom, she be telling me the truth. My sister, she know. Some of us do have people in our lives that could do that, right? But the
Hmm.
other component that she was sharing was also somebody that doesn't have a vested interest because yeah, we do tough talks here, so we already here. Let's go there. Sometimes you could go to somebody for support, and they like, oh, if I get her to do this, that'll help me with this. Or if I get him to do, oh, that's gonna work out for me. It's been done to me. People have manipulated me. People have gotten over on me because they thought that I was dumb or I was young and I really didn't know. And I'm like, this is the older person. Let me, follow what they're saying. So
Right.
we want to be careful because we're talking about boundaries.
Yes.
How much we can share with these people
Yes.
and finding out if I'm sharing something and it's not helping me, I need to pump the brakes. Okay.
Yes. Yep. You're
Mm-hmm.
absolutely right. You you have to be so careful. And again, somebody who's objective, because your therapist is not there to judge you. We
Mm-hmm.
all have things going on in our
Yeah.
lives. We're
Yeah.
human.
Yes.
We want to have things going on. But the job of the therapist is not to judge you, but again,
Mm-hmm.
to help you get an objective
Yeah.
view of what is going on
Mm-hmm.
without, really playing into the feelings. Because
Yeah.
many times the feelings have overwhelmed us and we
Mm-hmm.
can't
Mm-hmm.
think, we can't see, we can't hear, we can't do nothing.
Yes.
And our family, God love them, they
Mhm.
love us, but as you said, they got their own agenda.
Mhm.
Well, if she do this now, if she cut him loose and do this, and then maybe she go and it can get real ugly
Yeah.
real quick.
Yes. And again, not to say that you don't have somebody that can be objective, but we'll talk about criteria for the boundaries and how to set those things shortly. But us being mindful and alert, not put on rose-colored glasses.
Right.
And with that objectiveness, it's funny. I was sharing with Renee before we came live that I'm offering some going back into some couples work, and one of the couples I was working with, they was like, "Come on, pick a side, pick a side." Oh, I don't pick sides.
Right.
I'm not on your team. I'm not on his team. I'm not on her team. I'm not on their team. I win nothing from this. This is your union, you know? But what we're going to do is pull out all sides and figure out what works best for you. Because I don't got to go home with you. Right. So that objectiveness, that's what you get. Right. You know, I'm not going home with you. Y'all got to figure it out beyond the steps of what we work together with. Right. But again, somebody that's pushing you to do what it is that you need to do, that's not getting a ulterior motive or things of that sort. I mean, we benefit from you coming back every week. Thank you very much, ka-ching. But when your time is done too, because the hope is that you're not there forever.
Right.
You know, that we learn in school, and it's a true thing in life. Discharge starts with your first session.
Right.
Like, hey, it's so great to meet you.
Right. Right.
We won't be here forever. But I hope that you remember what our time has brought.
Right. You got those tools. You have those tools in your toolbox, and take your toolbox and go on and put it to work.
Yes, yes. So let's get on into it. What are boundaries?
Boundaries are limits. They serve as kind of a way of protecting ourselves and others. They help to keep us accountable as well as keep others accountable. And they also help us to grow. They help us to be able to recognize when like things are not what they should be or what they need to be for us in order for us to thrive and live our best lives. So, you know, again, they absolutely are necessary for us, again, as well as for others, for us to have the best relationships. And that's what really this life is about. It's about relationship.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I like this. The piece you said of helps us to recognize. To be able to recognize, we got to be honest with ourselves, right? Yes. I'm really big on emotional intelligence, of us being aware of our emotions.
Yes.
Because if we're not aware of our emotions, it goes back to that part of controlling, right? Because I mean, the lack of boundaries, you know, causes people to disrespect us. So it's not until we realize that we're being disrespected that, like, wait a minute, what? But it was a buildup that was happening before we really went off. Right. So we really find out what our triggers are, what our cues are, to let us know when something's off kilter, so that we can recognize, one, that boundary need to come in place. That we draw a limit, a line. You know, as a kid, was like, you cross this line, you're going to see what it's about, right?
Yes.
But there's sometimes that we could have said some things a couple of times before we had to get that far.
Right.
And the hope is that we did get a chance to do that.
Right.
Because then when we say you cross this line, you're going to see what we're going to say. Okay, you can meet me in the parking lot. Right. But the hope is that, again, with that, and the hope is that we're communicating. Oh,
yes. That part.
Communicating. Why is how do I let somebody know I have a boundary? I have to communicate. Let's talk about that, because I can have a boundary all day. You know, I can say,
you don't have a boundary. Mm-hmm. If everybody knows you have a boundary, then you don't have a boundary.
Oh, so somebody has to know I have the boundary.
Yes, they do.
Somebody has to know that I don't like them chewing with their mouth open in front of me, to know that it's going to cause me to be like, stop it, you know? Right? Oh, I got to tell them.
Right. Oh, yeah, because that mind reading thing doesn't really work.
What? Right now, you know you can read my mind. Let's try it right here. Come on. What am I thinking?
Jen, we've known each other for a long time, but nope.
And that's what I'm saying. I read this thing the other day. It said, "How crazy is it for a baby who just wants their butt clean, and you're trying to feed them, you're trying to console them, you're trying to do all these different things. That's the only time we're trying to really play the games of mind reading."
Exactly.
But as a child, even you grow up from that stage to be able to communicate.
Yeah.
Even our children that are on the spectrum, even our children that are nonverbal, they learn ways to be able to communicate. Like, I don't like that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I got to communicate that. True story. I was just telling Renee, I get fresh material for y'all. I don't be wanting to tell y'all my business, but here we go. I was at this event and somebody walked up to me and like gripped my arm. And I was like, one, I don't know the person like that. But for you to like grip my arm, like, you know, you're trying to like, I don't know what was happening, right? So I'm like, I really would prefer if you, you know, let go of my arm. I'm just trying to find out, I really would prefer if you let go of my arm. But I'm just trying to see, you can let go of my arm and ask me what your question is. So that's how quick we have to also be with our boundaries of saying like, oh, wait, you're coming too far. You're coming into my personal space. We don't know each other like that, bro.
Right.
I love everybody with the love of Jesus, but it's still boundaries in that too, where I'm not going to get that lack of respect. We got to keep that there, right? So being able to speak up for yourself. Now, there could have been a time that somebody would have just went along with it and felt uncomfortable, and then later on that night, like, ooh, it just made me feel, ooh.
Yeah.
We have to be able to address it in that moment. Why do you think some of us struggle so much with addressing what our triggers are, what our lines are?
Truthfully, in my opinion, it really goes back through our history. A lot of the history of trauma that particularly we have people as people of color has suffered has taught us that we don't count, we don't matter. What we think, how we feel does not matter. It's not important. And again, particularly for Black women, we've been taught that since the beginning. Okay. So we continue to kind of perpetuate that. And many times we tell ourselves, well, we don't want to upset nobody. We don't want to cause no problems. We don't want to do this. We don't want to do that. Yet we are wounded, hurt, disappointed. I mean, we feel like we're trampled on. And part of it is because we have not figured out that it's okay for us to have boundaries.
Yes.
It's okay for us to articulate that. And I will say, sometimes you got to be careful about how you articulate it, but you do have to articulate it.
Yes.
You do have to make it known. You don't have to come off as nasty or whatever, but you have to be able to say, excuse me, that what just occurred, that's not really working for me.
Come on.
I'm gonna need you to like just give me a moment, and so I can help you understand what will work. Because that's not going to work.
Yes.
And if you need me to elaborate as to why, we can have that discussion as well. You need you to understand that what happened, what you just did, that's not okay, and it's not going to work for you.
Yes. Friends. I want to hit on the trauma thing, but I also want to hit on the thing of the boldness that it takes to be able to speak up of your truth. We want to be able to validate people's feelings, people's boldness to do such a thing. I was talking to a friend and she was like, yeah, no, we're not talking no more. And she tried it out, tried to see if it would work out and things of that sort. And I said, congratulations. She thought about it. Then she said, thank you. Why? Because I celebrate the boldness that it took. You wanted a situation, but when you found out that it did not meet the qualifications of what you wanted, you said, you know what? This is outside of my capacity. It's causing me to overflow in a way I don't want to overflow.
Right.
It's making me uncomfortable.
Okay.
It's draining too much of me, and now I have to step away from it. So we want to also celebrate when people are putting their boundaries in place, because we don't know what it took for them to do that.
Exactly. I can just share a little bit of my personal story. I was involved in a relationship with somebody who I considered to be a friend
Mm-hmm.
for many years. And then when we decided it would go to that next level,
Mm-hmm.
things shifted and changed in ways that I did not expect,
Mm-hmm.
because I thought I knew this person.
Mm-hmm.
And when those changes began to show up, part of me was taken aback. And I initially just kind of went along, but in my head, I'm going, no, this is not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I allowing myself to accept this treatment, this behavior,
Come on.
when it doesn't feel good for me, when it doesn't feel right for me, when I feel like I'm being put down and just traumatized, and
Come
I'm
on.
walking around on eggshells. I don't know how to respond. And finally I thought, yeah, no, I need to be able to say to this person, you know, the person who I thought I knew, it's clear to me I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
The person that's showing up right now in this relationship,
Mm-hmm.
I have no desire to be involved with.
Whew.
And it was hard. Again, this was somebody I had known for years, but I also knew,
Mm.
this, no, 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 no.
Let's sit there for a second. This is somebody you knew for years. And there are some people that we know like the back of our hand, right? But every day we're growing.
Mm-hmm.
Every day we're changing.
Yes.
And though yesterday, sweet as pie. Today, a couple cans short. Tomorrow, sweeter than pie. And we go through these different changes, all of us. Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down, sometimes we're level to the ground. I feel like that's a song. It is a song, I just don't. But in the person, it's a simple thing. If we haven't addressed trauma, I told you I was going back. If we haven't addressed those experiences that causes us to feel a different type of way, or causes us to change and grow and mature in a different way, we no longer have that same capacity. So on yesterday, I was good with that. But today, or I haven't talked about it, I haven't dealt with it, so I'm overwhelmed, I'm frustrated, I'm irritated, I'm agitated. I want to do some stuff with grief, and eventually I'm going to get there. But I was talking to a friend this weekend. He went to a funeral, and he was like, yeah, I hate funerals. I said, yeah, they don't get any better. He lost his grandmom recently, and when you lose a pillar in your life, you see death in a totally different way. Mm-hmm. It's been 20 years this year for me of losing my mom. So when somebody dies, it's like, one is bound to happen because we all live and then we die. It's part of life. We can't avoid it, right? It just stinks when it comes, because it comes when it's unexpected. We thought we would have more time. We thought we would have more years and things. And because you've experienced that, every time you have another experience of loss, of grief, it brings up some feelings and emotions, no matter how healed you thought you were, because we're human. And I was talking to somebody, and it was like, they better not act the fool at this funeral. I said that you can't say that. Why? Because when I go to a funeral, I'm trying to be calm, cool, collected, but I also then reflect on some other people, places, and things that I lost, and my emotions sometimes get the best of me, right? So I have to process, I have to talk it out, I have to communicate, I have to deal with that experience of loss.
Yes.
To help balance myself out so that I don't go cray-cray.
Right.
I don't go off kilter. I don't go like, something is wrong with her. She's trying to process some stuff that she didn't process when she should have. That he could have processed when he could have. Because we don't know we need to process it. Why? Because we think we don't need to go to the therapist. We think we don't need to go to the doctor.
Right. Right.
We think we don't need to go to the dentist. Sweeties, we need our teeth. That helps us to eat.
Right.
So again, knowing the importance of that. And trauma, I think sometimes the challenge comes because we have an experience and we don't know that it was a traumatic experience. Let's talk about that.
Yes.
It's the norm.
Absolutely.
A drive-by shooting is the norm. No, baby, that shouldn't be the norm.
Exactly. But again, particularly for us as people of color,
Mm-hmm.
so much of our trauma has been normalized.
Yes.
It really has.
Yes.
That we can't even distinguish, as you said, that it's trauma.
Yes.
It's like, oh, that's just the way things are. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to what you were talking about in terms of funerals and death, we don't grieve. We don't allow ourselves to really grieve. Okay, we may, emote at a funeral. We may cry and we may, sometimes it'll get a little hysterical or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, the funeral that's it. That's over. Well, wait, what? Wait a minute. Pump your brakes.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly as you said, if it's somebody significant. I like you. I lost my mother 22 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So not a day goes by that I don't think about her, that she isn't, something doesn't bring up a memory, a thought, something. So what I feel like is that my grief evolves, but it never goes away. And for many of us, we don't give ourselves permission to really even acknowledge that there's pain there. And there's going to be an empty space there, and it's going to be a hole there for a while. And eventually it can heal for sure, but it's never going to completely go away because of the significance of that relationship to us and for us. So we have to give ourselves permission to feel what we feel. And not act like, okay, the funeral's over, I gotta go back to work, that's the end of it. Like, no.
Baby, if it was that easy. If it was that easy. Okay. I always say when I hear that somebody's lost their mom, I would say we were not accepting new members. This is a club that nobody wants to be a part of. And anybody, again, that you hold dear to your heart. It's not a club that anybody wants to be a part of. But as you say, you have to give yourself permission to be in those moments. Like, I'm trying to tell them, like, yeah, it don't get no better. Then I'm reflecting like, whoa, dang, the tear done fell. Because, like you said, we don't heal, really. And it's funny because a couple, probably a week, weeks, months or whatever, I had spoken at my church and was talking about heal. The word that I had was heal. Or healing. And I was talking about how, like, we pray to be for heal, like heal the world, heal my mind, heal my heart, things of that sort. So then we experience healing where it's alleviated, but because we're in this human body, we can't really be healed until we go to be with Father. So in that grief, we're going to feel it. It's going to keep on ducking its head out. And we learn how to adjust. We learn how to balance. We want to learn how to give ourselves permission to release. That's the one right there. Because if you hold it in too much, you come around the wrong person. We forget every boundary we had, any boundary we knew they had, and we like going cool, And we have to give ourselves that permission to release it as it comes. Release it, because if we hold it in, it just get built up. We got to do something with it. I used to always use the analogy with families of rice. Hard rice is not comfortable to be in your shoe, right? So then even if we got on the floor and we keep on sweeping it underneath the rug, after a while, we're going to trip over that. So we need to do something with that rice. We need to make a rice salad. We need to make some fried rice, some brown rice, yellow rice, rice and beans, rice and gravy, rice and whatever it is, patty. We need to do something with it. We have to be able to release it in a good way, or sometimes just throw it in the trash if it means it's no good.
Right.
Good. Another part you said was, I want to also just share about that traumatic. So trauma is definitely a traumatic experience, though. It's like just some series of events that cause a lot of stress. And trauma experiences cause us a lot of stress. So it's not that It could be losing your job. It could be not your car breaking down. It could be that pandemic we just came through. It was a traumatic experience. I can't go out. I gotta stay in. Yeah. Now, I'm blessed where it's just me and Cleo right now, to the Lord and my boo. But it's some people that had a couple more people in their household. Mm-hmm. And they had to really get to know those people who they thought they knew. Mm-hmm. That they found out, man, you really do that? This what you do? Like, because we found ourselves in a different situation. So that could be a traumatic experience. It could cause some stress. You don't know how you're going to make the ends meet. How can I get to work? I'm putting on my mask, but somebody else not putting on their mask, and sometimes even watching the news could be a traumatic experience. I stopped watching the news years ago because talking to people, I found out it's true. I know that stuff is really happening, but it was too much for me to overwhelm me and things that sort. And then that you have to create boundaries.
Yeah, and truthfully, going back to what you said about the pandemic wrecked people when it came to boundaries. Mm-hmm. It really did. Because when you thought you knew what your boundaries were, COVID brought something into play that nobody was for. And it really challenged us about if we had boundaries, what were our boundaries, maintain our boundaries. Or others trying to violate our boundaries. Like, and everything from, as you just pointed out, from the mask wearing to the vaccine taken to the can I work from home? Do I have to be out in work? Like all of those
and John Red Heart
and
Don
really
Green
is,
or one other.
I'm so sorry. I forgot to turn my ringer off on my phone. But it really challenged all of us around boundaries.
Right.
And it's still, so much of the divide that is going on in our country is still a major issue. Again, what is it around? Boundaries. Where you begin and I end, where my rights are being impugned, and is it okay or is it not okay? And impose what I believe on you, and can you impose what you believe on me? So boundaries have been being tested in a major way. The pandemic. I think the pandemic put that thing on steroids.
Yes.
So boundaries again really kind of became a big thing for many of us as a result of the pandemic.
And still today, because let somebody call too many times, because we're trying to protect ourselves. Oh, exactly. Come on. Boundaries protect ourselves.
Yes.
If we don't got nothing, we don't have no protection.
Yes.
Exactly. And we know sometimes boundary, the protection is not always foolproof and things that sort, but at least we tried something.
Right.
It's not as impactful as it could have been. Why? Because we tried to block it the best way we could,
Right. Right. And again, on all levels, emotionally, mentally, physically, in terms of, our time, in terms of our relationships. Again, boundaries are extremely important, but going back to what you said before, we have to be able to let people know what our boundaries are.
Yes.
They have to be firm. They don't have to be rigid, but they are important. They are very important.
Firm. So like I said what I said, but it's not rigid, because sometimes we are speaking from one spectrum, and then we find out something else like, oh, all right, that's the part where we're saying the flexibility of knowing that it's not always our way or the highway.
Right.
Sometimes we might be on a highway because we was wrong. So we want to be open.
Right.
But firm when we figure it out.
Right. And sometimes you don't have all of the information. Like most of us, generally speaking, as human beings, we try to operate the best way we can with the information we have. But sometimes we don't have all the information.
That's good.
So then when you get all the information, it's like, oh, okay. All right. And I can be a little more flexible.
Yes.
With that boundary. Because I didn't have that piece of information.
I didn't have that before. So let's talk about the different areas that we need to set up some boundaries and what some of those boundaries may look like. So the first boundary, let's talk about in school or on our job. What are some boundaries we may want to consider to have in place?
Your relationships to your coworkers. Again, you had what I always tell people, and I've been a supervisor and a manager for probably the better part of my 37 years city career. At least 20, I'll say at least 23 of that time, those years. You have to, when you go into a new situation or when you go into your work situation, it's usually best to just kind of observe and be a little more careful with your boundaries, just so that you can kind of get the lay of the land, so that you can kind of learn people, learn how they interact and how they act in this environment. So it's important to have your boundaries because, okay, these are your coworkers. These are not your family. They may eventually become friends, but you still got to kind of see what's going on before you put yourself out there. Again, boundaries serve to protect us. And you don't want to open yourself up in a situation with somebody who you sharing important parts of your life, and then they sharing it with the whole office. And now you're hurt, embarrassed, ashamed, whatever, all of those toxic emotions. And then what?
So I can't go in on 1,000?
Mm-hmm.
That's my personality, though. I need them to see all of me.
And here you go. That's not to say you can't be you. But again, you need to go into a situation and situations with an eye for observing what is going on in the environment, in the situation.
What are some boundaries we should be aware of with our friends?
Again, similarly, particularly when you have a spouse or a partner, you need to be thoughtful about what you share, particularly around your intimacy with your friends.
Okay. So if I'm sharing about my boo thing with my friends, what's wrong with that?
Well, your friend may be thinking, "Oh, your boo thing, look, he got going on, and he got a good job, and I might like to get with her and move her on out the way." So you go sharing some stuff, and then they get back, and then your boo thing looking at you like, "Oh, this what we doing?"
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's a biggie. It gets overlooked sometimes.
Yes.
But sometimes we do share. We want to be careful what we are sharing regarding our significant others or those that hold dear to our heart. Because if we get back, like, wait. And then you don't always know if it's just friends and friends and things. So you don't know the capacity of relationship of the friends that they have with each other. So if you're saying something, you feel so comfortable to talk all this trash about them, like, wait a minute. Pump your brakes. This is my friend here. Because I also want you to speak up for myself, for me, if I ain't there. What was you saying in the room that they was talking about me, right? So those pieces, but also intimacy, being careful what it is that we're sharing. So that's why it's important to go to that professional when it has no value vested in that.
Right.
So that they're not trying to mess up the situation. And we want to be careful too, because sometimes we'll be like, oh, they just the worst. They this, they that. But they also have such an amazing track record. But you highlighted all the bad things. So they're like, well, why are you still with this joker? Or, joker, what's going on? You sound like you don't go clean now. But again, so knowing what it is that we're sharing, and who we can share it with. If they can't hold water,
probably not a good idea.
If we see that green-eyed monster come up or that third eye come up where some of this off, oh, you want what I got? You jealous and things that's so high. I can't tell you too much nothing. And sometimes you just test it like, because the sky was purple. And then somebody come like, because there was somebody you were saying the sky was purple. I told her that in confidence. Right. Now you think I'm crazy, but now I know that she don't mean me no good. He don't mean me no good.
Exactly.
And not saying playing games to test and things that sort, but what I'm saying is if you said something in confidence and you felt like it could be good and it come back to you, you find out red flag number 1.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, running their mouth like a faucet. Nobody got time for that. Nobody got time. We got to be careful. And sometimes we do feel like we tell somebody. Sometimes it just go left real quick.
Yes, very fast. Yes.
Yep. So in that, with relationships, what are some things, what boundaries should we have in our romantic relationships?
Your time. Your time and when I say time, in your romantic relationships, you need to know or at least be on the same page about what that time that you spend together looks like and how much time it needs to be. Because, you may have a partner who's okay with, oh, she don't have to be underneath me all the time. But then you may have a partner who expects you to be with them by their side all the time. And that for you may feel like, that's a little bit much. But at the outset, this is something you need to be talking about. Like, what's the expectation? What are we looking for? And don't get me wrong. A lot of times people don't have these discussions because in the very beginning, we're all caught up in the good feelings and we don't want to, rock the boat. We don't want to cause it, upset. But it's important to talk about these things so that we know, again, we're starting to know, we're starting to present for this person what our boundaries look like.
Yes.
And that gives them the opportunity to say, no, this probably isn't going to be a good fit for me. Or you to be able to see that, oh, they're like, they want a lot. I'm not there. I don't want to, be with this person in their space 24/7. You need to know this so that you're not, years in, you've been going along, but you really didn't want to. You really were unhappy. And that's a problem because you violated your own boundaries and you didn't make your partner aware. So now they violate. Yes, because you haven't spoken up for yourself. You haven't made it clear that this is not me. This is not what I want. This doesn't work for me. There's a part of me that needs space. And although I love you and I care about you, I need space.
I think another part of being mindful of our boundaries too when it comes to relationships is knowing what works for you and not being swayed by what works for somebody else. if that doesn't work for you. You know, it made me think of the show I Love Lucy. And Lucy and Desi did not sleep in the same room. And somebody else was like, oh no, you're gonna be in a room with me, or they got the meme of you upset, but y'all like scooting and going everywhere, all on the floor, in the car, on the ground, all in different places. But there's some people it's like, yeah, no, I need my space. I don't want you up underneath me all the time. So again, what works for your situation works for your situation.
Right.
And be confident and firm in what works for your situation. Because if you're trying to live up to the Joneses and that's not what your household likes, you're going to be separated.
Uh-huh.
You know, you're not going to have what you did have. So again, in those boundaries, knowing what you can share, who you can share it with. If you know Jesus, ask God to give you discernment.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
discernment is just that thing that says, warning, warning, shut your mouth. Do not say anything else. And you have to hear to that warning, because sometimes you be like, I got to get it out. This is my feelings and I can trust this person. And God will tell you to shut your mouth. And you can shut your mouth and then it didn't work out how you wanted to work out. And all you had to do was shut your mouth. Or you said, don't get into that situation.
Right.
And you got into it. So again, we want to be able to be aware. We have to be aware. We talked about that earlier with our boundaries. It helps us to, you know, recognize some things. You know, when we recognize that someone's a little off, so we say, hey, I got to put a boundary in place.
Yep.
I got to put a boundary in place. And sometimes we just freely going and we're on a bridge and don't know it. And there's no barrier there. And before we know it, we're falling down. And we know what happened when Humpty fell. Everybody doesn't recover from a fall.
Mm-hmm.
All the king's horses, all the king's men couldn't put Humpty back together again. Why? Because all those shells fell and it could come back together, but it would never be how it once was. And those traumatic experiences, those life experiences can get us off kilter, can set things off.
Yes.
And that stuff we can kind of keep together just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all the way apart. What boundaries can we put together that causes us not to fall all the way apart?
Again, being, as you said, being aware, being mindful, listening to, again, the Holy Spirit leading us. And, you know, as you said, when God is saying, hold your peace, don't pay attention, you know, look, listen, see what's going on in your surroundings.
Yes.
Don't move to the left, move to the right. I always tell people, like, that intuition, that's the Holy Spirit talking to you. Listen. Stop with the questioning and the second guessing. But if I do this, well, this, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't. But if your instincts, if the Holy Spirit is saying, again, don't move to the left, move to the right, move.
Yes.
Because, again, that trust, that trusting that voice is going to save you in not in so many in every area. It really is. My experience has taught me that when I listen to that voice without question, I have the Lord will show me somewhere down the line why. Like, oh, see, I had you to move right because there was a truck coming to your left that you couldn't see, but I saw it.
Yes.
So the fact that you did what I needed you to do and you moved out the way, that's why you're still here. Because you couldn't see what I could see.
You couldn't see what I could see. Whew. We have to be aware, friends. Just saying, we have to be aware. I just, when I said, yes, boundaries are a necessity. They're your saving grace from a lot of things. Absolutely. And when I was reading that, when it first popped up, it made me think of how being careful to not write a check that you can't cash.
That
old saying, but it's still so true.
Absolutely.
You know, you got all that mouth. You better make sure you can bring the action that comes with it, you know? And then you find out that you're really not about that life. And then you want to be like, okay, let me just back up. You know, what I meant was because, like, even in joking and things of that sort, I was sharing with you, I do some anger management groups, and we talk about bullying and things of that sort, and how sometimes it's not considered to be bullying because we just bidding, we just joking and things of that sort. But now, when I was younger, they used to say 6 and stones to break my bones, but names never hurt me. Those names do hurt.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we thinking that is fun, but it does hurt. If we don't have the confidence within ourselves, if we don't have that boldness of knowing I am fearfully and wonderfully made, I am above and I believe, I am beautiful, I am God's child. Who you think you talking to? You know, we ain't always had that when we first was a babe. But it's like, well, maybe I am no good. Maybe I am. Because it's also the power of words. And when we're talking about boundaries, when we put some boundaries in place, it's like, you're not going to talk to me any kind of way. I ain't perfect, but you're still not going to disrespect me. We're going to put some boundaries in place so that we're going to have some respect. We both adults. We're going to talk about what got to be talked about and things that sort. But we put these boundaries in place because I can't let you defame me. I can't let you put dents in my armor when I know that I am amazing. You know, it took me a while to get here and I can't let you take me back. So I have to put my boundaries in place to know, no, I can't talk to you today. No, I need to put on do not disturb. My capacity says I have reached the limits of how many people I can help today. I need some help for myself. I have to, you know, as you shared earlier, seek my own work. Yes. Because if not.
Yes. Boundaries will be violated. I don't know if you can see, I have 2 banners behind me, but one of them says boundaries sound like, and it's 9 different phrases that you can use to help people understand. This is what boundaries sound like. I understand that you're upset and not okay, but you can't speak to me that way. So you letting them know I'm acknowledging you feeling some kind of way, but you don't have permission to talk to me crazy. Like, okay, so let's, and again, you're acknowledging that the person is maybe having some difficulty, but you also saying to them, you can't beat me down with it.
Yes. And a lot of times that's misguided anger.
Yes.
I'm having a bad day. You came along and now I'm going off on you. Again, we have to be aware of our feelings and emotions to know if I'm having a bad moment, we can't talk right now. I always use the story of how I was having a bad day and somebody was trying to ask me questions about church and Jesus. I said, I'm having a bad day, but I ain't going to mess with Jesus. Give me a moment. When I get myself together, then I can answer your questions. Because I'm having a bad day, but I ain't going to defame the Lord's name. My arms are too short.
Yeah.
I see that name. I might talk a little trash and smack. He be like, Dad, is my child. I am.
Right.
But I know my limits. I know my boundaries. He be like, all right. You know? So in it.
Yes.
Being mindful. If I'm having a bad day, take a chill pill.
Yep.
Take a walk around the park.
Right now, I need some time to myself. I would love to hear more, but we're going to have to talk about this later.
Good one.
Again, that's what boundaries sound like. Again, you have a right to think that, and I don't see the situation in that same way, but you have a right to think, feel, whatever, the way you feel. I just don't see it that way. Again, you're acknowledging that the person has their thought, idea, opinion, feeling, whatever it is.
Yes.
But you have yours. That's a boundary. No is a boundary. Telling people, I'm not responsible for your emotions.
It's a boundary.
And people, well, you did, and that's why no. Those are your feelings and emotions. They really don't have anything to do with me.
Yes.
You entitled to them. I'm not saying you can't feel that way. But It's not my responsibility.
Right.
And I need you to understand it's not my responsibility.
Mm.
Yeah. Another one. I can help, but I can't do that for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm. That's it
Again,
there. That's it there. I can help, but I can't do that for you. Because sometimes people want us to co-sign.
oh, there you go. There you go.
Sometimes people want to borrow,
Mm-hmm.
and they already got a track record of not paying back.
Mm-hmm.
Some people want to stay over and don't have a definite timeline of what they go gonna be when they do go on to the next. My mom used to take people in as a kid. I hated it. And I know hate is a strong word. But my boundaries did not like it. I did not have the capacity to do what she did. Amazing thing to be able to take people in. However, I saw people abuse boundaries, right?
Right.
But again, this is what I can do for you.
Right. 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 I can't
I
do
can
that.
listen.
Right. I can't do that, but I can do this.
Come on. Come on.
Again, that's you setting a boundary, not
No co-signing, because that baby ain't got the right. Because then you stuck with it, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Hey, Mama Wanda, I can help, but I can't do that. That's it. Because we forget we trying to be Superman and Superwoman, and we got our own stuff going on.
Okay. And
I'm
we'll overextend ourselves, and then
over.
we're angry and resentful because of what we chose to do instead of saying,
Yes,
yeah, I can do this, but I can't do that.
yes, yes. This is good. Be graceful. Be gracefully bold with your boundaries. It's okay. Absolutely. Gracefully bold. Because we don't have to be rude with it.
No, not at all.
Our boundary is our boundary. Nothing more, nothing less.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
you smile. Have a good day. That's my favorite. And as I'm saying it, it's like a little sarcasm, probably pettiness, possibly passive aggressive in it, but I still be meaning what I say. I do want you to have a good day. I can do this, but I can't do that. Okay, we worked it out. All right, have a good day. Because I wanted to get better for you. So
Right.
gracefully bold.
Yes. And going back to what we were talking about earlier, I understand I'm important to you and you're important to me. While I care about you, I also need my space. I love you, boo, but I need my space.
Yes.
I absolutely care about you, and I know you care about me, but I need my space.
Yes. We have to take those moments for ourselves, friends.
And you
It's
got
not.
to be able to articulate that so that that person that you care about knows, understands.
And that's the part. I could know that I need to take some space, but if I don't verbalize that to you, Renee would be like, well, what's going on, Jennifer?
Right. Why you?
She acting funny.
Yeah,
She
exactly.
must got a boo thing. She must got this. She must got that. That must didn't work out. And now you assuming stuff, and we know what it means by assuming. Don't do that. However, I do need to verbalize what's going on if we have that much of a connection and things, and I'm starting to act a little off. But then you also ask too, like, hey, sis, what's going on? You good? And that's the thing too. Sometimes we don't see that people are going through and overwhelmed, and we just think that they're supposed to keep shut up. No, hey, let me check it on you. You good?
Right.
You doing all right?
Right.
But again, we want to be able to communicate that to somebody else, because if they're dependent on us, we're supposed to show, but then we just flaking. That's not good. Now we being disrespectful.
Right.
And our boundaries shouldn't be disrespectful. Our boundaries should be what they are, but we want to be respectful enough saying, hey, Renee, I really would love to do X, Y, and Z, but I can't do whatever it is. But again, I'm communicating to let you know, and we're working out a plan of what works for moving forward.
Exactly. And being able to recognize that, again, you can't control how people receive it. You can only control how it's delivered.
Yes.
And if you deliver it in love, they'll say, okay, well, I appreciate you may not be able to give me this, but I appreciate what you can give. Or they can say, thank you, no thank you.
Yes, yes. That's good. That's good. So friends, these boundaries, help us to protect ourselves, to protect others.
Mm-hmm.
And when somebody is telling you that they need space, please give them their space.
Yes.
Because then we poking the bear. Oh no, but come on, no, I need a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Let them have their moment. So yes, as you said, we have to take our moments. It's totally healthy in every way. Absolutely, friends. Just like, even at work, sometimes, and I used to be guilty of this, of having so much PTO time. They be like, all right, if you don't take it, you're going to lose it. And I ain't even going to embarrass myself to tell y'all how much time I would have to take sometimes. Or sometimes I still took time and still lost time. And I ain't got time to be giving them 3 hours. Let me take my time. We are worthy of that time. So we want to be able to take our time off. Why? Because it's helping us prevent burnout. It's helping us to stay refreshed. It's helping us to take a moment for ourselves. Because in life, a couple months ago, we did the Life Be Life, and life can get overwhelming. And if we don't take a pause to really be able to enjoy the accomplishments that we've had,
yes,
it can feel null and void.
Yep. Very empty. Very empty.
I'm just working, sleeping, going to church.
Yeah.
Working, sleeping, work. You got to do something else.
Yes. Yes. And again,
something else.
Boundaries also help us to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are taking care of ourselves.
Yes.
We are learning more about ourselves, what our capacity is.
Mm-hmm.
And what our capacity can be.
Yes.
But we gotta have our boundaries.
Yes. And it's even boundaries in taking all time. My mom and I've gotten a lot better. I do take my time now. Because if you take too much time, be like, yeah, I ain't going back. Now let me talk about the other side of boundaries, friends, because y'all not gonna say Jen said, yep, no. Let me clarify. Yes. Being mindful of your boundaries, okay? So we can't keep on saying, my boundaries, the capacity I have is not to go to work today or tomorrow or the next day or turns into a week and a month. Who's paying your bills? I can't help you, friend.
Right.
I don't have what was the one? I don't have a capacity. Right. I can help you with this. Let's say a prayer. Right. God, touch your mind and send it back to work. Touch his mind, God. Give him a better job if that's what he needs. But I can't pay your bills.
Exactly.
I can't bail you out of jail. I'm gonna say a prayer, and you better do like Paul and Silas did and pray. And hope that them chains break. As Tasha Cobb said, break every chain. So again, being mindful with the boundaries that we're putting in place, that it doesn't harm yourself or harm somebody else. Okay. Right. I love y'all. I just want to put that disclaimer out there. Oh, Mama Wanda, not retirement time. Mama Wanda is on retirement. She's living her best life. But even in that too, come on, Mama Wanda, because even in being retired, right, there's still boundaries and things that sort of what it is that you want to do. You want to relax and enjoy not having to work, but there are other things that you want to do of having boundaries and things of how to still keep yourself excited and active. Because if you're used to working all the time, then you're not working. It's like, what am I going to do with myself? So finding different ways to keep yourself engaged and connected with the world so that you don't be woe is me situations. Okay. So again, taking your PTO, being mindful of that you're going back to work because you got to pay them bills. Unless you got a way that works out, let me know. Legal only. But being mindful of that. And again, our boundaries of, because too, sometimes they'll think that you're retired or you got time. No, Mama Wanda, you still got stuff you want to do. Right now is, relax and watch your stories if you watch stories, or this time is your time to do Jen Cares. We talk about that all the time. She's like, I don't know why they call me on Monday. They know I'm looking at Jen Cares. So again, you have your boundaries of when you're available and when you're not available. So just being mindful with that. What she say? 4 years today, and Jim will keep me on check. Yes, I will, Mama Wanda. You and Pop Jackson. I'm gonna check check in with him about his book. Again, our boundaries. If we're sharing something with somebody, that person be able to hold us accountable. My a friend boundary may be like, I can't have no more bread. So when they got bread, I'm giving them side eye. Mm-hmm. What summer body you getting ready for? Summer is here.
Yes.
So again, accountability sometimes goes with that too. So friends, again, knowing what works best for you. If you need support, always reach out to me. I'll help you out with boundaries, goal setting, and accountability. Why? Because I want us all to win. And just as I help you, you want to be able to help encourage me. Like, Jen, didn't you say you was doing that? I might say mind your business, but I'm going to appreciate you checking in. Why? Because we are helpers one of another.
Yes, absolutely.
What's something you want us to walk away with? This was good.
Yes, it was. And my nerves just completely
I
went
love it.
away.
I love it.
Yes. What I would say is, again, boundaries are really important, and they're important in every area of your life. You can have them and maintain them, and it doesn't mean that you don't care about other people. It doesn't mean that you aren't going to be there for other people. It doesn't mean any of that. But it is important that you own your boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
that you make people aware of your boundaries, and you operate in that. It is important for you to have the best life possible. When you don't, you feel disrespected, you feel less than, you can literally, again, be traumatized by not having them. So
Yeah.
they serve a very important purpose in our lives.
Yeah.
So yeah, boundaries, very important. Very important.
Very important. So I'm getting pulled on the carpet. I thank you for this accountability. Apparently, I missed a question. Let me scroll back up. I don't want nobody to, I want everybody question. I got excited. I apologize. Okay. I apologize. Okay. So the question says, how do you communicate your boundaries effectively to those lacking emotional intelligence? That's a good question,
It,
actually. I'm sorry I skipped it.
it is a good question, and it's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So people who don't have the emotional intelligence where you can, articulate it verbally, here you go. You got to show them.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta. If it is, we all got caller ID on these things. If that
Mm-hmm.
person is blowing up your phone, and like, you don't answer, you don't respond, or you block them, or you do whatever you need to do to protect your peace.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if you can't have that conversation, if you can't articulate it verbally, then your actions have to show it. If it's okay, we can go out and I'm only available till X time, and that time come and you say, okay, I'm ready to go. And they're like, well, no, I thought we was going. No, I made you aware that this is my cutoff time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have to see you later, and you go about your way. Our actions are just as important in terms of articulating
Mm-hmm.
what boundaries need to look like. It's
Yeah.
not just about what we say, it's also about what we do, how we interact.
Mm-hmm.
Again, going back to what we were talking about earlier about sharing. Well, then if this is somebody who could potentially not get it and violate boundaries, then you don't share.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who it is. If you
Mm-hmm.
feel like this is something that could, get out, or they can't keep your confidence, well, then no, you don't share.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be somebody that you're close to, but you have to be able to read the room. That's
Yeah.
why I said initially, like, you got to be able to observe and pay attention. Don't ignore or dismiss behavior, even if it's not directed at you. It still speaks to somebody's character.
Mm-hmm.
You see them treating someone else a way that makes you uncomfortable.
Mm. Friends. Another part of that is being consistent.
Absolutely.
Because if they lack emotional intelligence, they don't pick up on social cues. We want to be consistent. Because
Absolutely.
the moment we slip up, got them. And I was like, we'll keep on doing it. So we have to be firm, like we said, and being consistent. Like, no, this is what it is.
Right.
Because we teach others how to treat us.
Absolutely.
You know, what we allow, what we don't allow. So in that being consistent, being patient, because sometimes it takes them a little time to get there. Because if it's a relationship that you value, you want to keep, having that patience piece, right? But again, just being consistent. And the same for them, wanting them to be consistent in what it is that they're doing as well.
Right.
So,
because that speaks to the accountability piece.
yes.
If they're not consistent, then it's important for you to be able to say, well, hey, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's for both of you. It works both ways. And again, that's where the consistency piece comes in. You have to be consistent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, airplane mode does work. Now, ironically, I keep my phone on silent. It'll vibrate sometimes, or sometimes I don't even have that on either. I have to be around it to really know if somebody has reached out. The watch is what really helps me to know if somebody's calling. Mm-hmm. But I enjoy my do not disturb. I enjoy it being on silent. And a friend was like, what if emergencies happen? Call on Jesus. He will answer prayer. But being realistic, sometimes you have to be able to know when to take those moments for yourself. And you could put things in place where for certain people, they could definitely get through. If I'm their first person or they're my first person, they're going to be able to get their access. Airplane mode sometimes is needed because you have to be able to remove distractions. Even the goals that we have for ourselves, friends, we are in the 6th month of the year. What are the goals that you set for yourself for this year? How are you doing with that? What boundaries have you put in place to help you to stay on track with that, what you want to do for you?
Mm-hmm.
What's your thing for the year? What's your goal for the year? What was your resolution? Did you forget it? Okay. Mama Wanda said, call ID, block and delete. Absolutely. That call ID comes in handy.
Mm-hmm.
We know how to put that do not answer when, we was in those situations and we didn't want to be tempted. But then thank God for that block, because if you block it, this not even going to come up. Yield not to temptation. Yes. So, things that sort. But again, you got to put that boundary in place. If you said, this person don't mean me no good, why are we going to keep letting them come in?
Exactly.
If they're not getting no better, why are we going to keep on letting that come in?
Right.
Okay. All right. Camille said, that's good. Boundaries just as bad as no boundaries. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We got to put them in place, friends.
Yes.
We got to put them in place. Yes, distractions do kill goal attaining. If you're trying to lose weight and you keep on walking past Tiffany's and you see that cake, like, just get one slice. It ain't going to hurt.
Girl.
Fruit truck. Get a smoothie. Sometimes we have to be intentional about changing the direction that we were going. Yes. And again, friends, it's up to you. If to put a boundary in place, you have to say enough is enough. I'm going to stop watching all this TV and I'm going to do this. I'm going to, make sure that I'm commanding my morning and getting in the presence of God if that's what you want to do. Today, baby, it makes your day go a lot different. I promise you. The song I was listening to is Dottie Peoples. That is her name. God meant it for my good. The devil meant it for bad, but I'm so glad God meant it for my good. And when I really started thinking about that thing, I was like, it's some situations that she's been in, but God meant it for my good that it worked out in a different way. Though I thought it should have worked out this way, or I thought I was doing good that way, or whatever it is.
Yes.
So when we're being intentional about setting our boundaries, when we're being intentional about setting how our day is going to go, when we're being intentional about what it is that we want to do for our lives, I'm going to go to school. What I'm going to go to school for, I'm going to research and find out boundaries. We're putting things in place to really sit down and figure out what it is we're trying to do for our lives.
Yes.
And I challenge you to do that as we're in the 6th month. I double dare you, because that's the theme for the month, okay? To write out what your goals are. Again, if you need support, y'all reach out to me all the time. Send me a message. Let's really talk through it of what it is you want to do. Why? Because we got to put some boundaries in place. Now, I will put boundaries on a time frame of how long we're going to talk about what it is, because we're going to hit it, quit it, and then you're going to go on your assignment and do what it is you got to do. Because we could talk for hours and hours and hours and hours, as the girl said. But if we ain't getting in action, we wasting time. And you disrespecting my boundaries.
Yes.
I let you in. And then you're not doing what it is you want to do. So friends, if you try to really be about it, let's do this thing. Whatever it is that you're trying to do. I got my own goals that I'm setting too. Okay? We can do this. We got to put in the boundaries. Whew. Yes, this is good. I
Yes.
thank you so much for joining us. I get on my soapbox sometimes because this is my heart to really just be able to encourage somebody, and I hope that something we shared every time that we do go live that encourages and helps somebody to either share with somebody else, to reflect on it for their own lives, or to have a conversation with somebody. Be like, you know what? I gotta stop writing checks I can't cash. I gotta put some boundaries in place.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you for inviting me. This has been wonderful. I would love to come back and talk again. It is really great. And like you, I pray that somebody was blessed by something they heard and that was shared, and that they can use it to live their best life, their God-given best and blessed life.
Yes. And share, I'm working on some other projects. So I'm definitely gonna have you back because we always want to normalize mental health, talk about some tough topics that we try to ignore sometimes.
Yep.
Some of the pieces we even want to go back to how in school we did like the little skits and things of that sort to really see how things play out. So I got you covered. Because we just trying to help the people. And as we help the people,
that's it.
It's gonna help us be a better people.
Absolutely.
So thank you again so very much for joining us. May you have a great, great evening.
Thank you. You as well.
Yes. Oh, tonight was amazing. I hope y'all loved it with the boundaries. I enjoyed it. I mean, I always enjoy when I get to come and talk to my friends. Did y'all have fun tonight? Friends. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate both of you. Thank you for sharing. Blessings to you both. Yes. We just always try to share some good information with the people. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. I, again, definitely do pray that, you enjoyed it. That's good to hear. I thank you. I thank you. Friends, honest moment. You do things because it's on your heart to do it. And you want to be a blessing to others. And sometimes you don't know if it is a blessing to others, but if it's just one person, guess what? We did what we needed to do. And it's always one person because I always get something that I need. So I get to let y'all sit in on me getting myself together because this is a daily walk thing. But friends, set some boundaries. Set some boundaries for yourself. It's okay to do it. As she shared the sign behind her head, the 9 pieces, you could Google, what does boundary setting look like? And it'll come up. And again, you're doing gracefully, you're doing it with love, and you're doing it for yourself. Because if nobody's going to stand up for you, who's going to do it better than you? Okay? You got to be able to stand up for yourself. I enjoy this. Oh, thank you, Mama Wanda. I enjoy all of you guys. I love you. Okay, I got to go because I'll get choked up because I really am grateful that everybody, you're enjoying it because that's what it's all about. Don't forget our quote of the day. Lack of boundaries invites lack of respect. Lack of boundaries invites lack of respect. Whew. That quote is something deep, okay? So friends, y'all make sure y'all put some boundaries in place because we know we don't like to be disrespected. And we talking about this brown color people, the ladies, what? You said, oh, because what? Right. We don't want to have to do that. We can't do that all the time. We have to be able to verbalize and communicate what's going on to make sure that everything goes just a little bit better. So with that, I also put some boundaries in place for myself this month. I am going on a trip. I'm going to treat myself to some things. So we're going to have another hiatus for a couple of weeks as I go away, then come back again. And then we'll be back on June 26th with Survive. So we're going to take a little break. Be sure to watch a replay, a rewind of some other episodes that we've had. Or, let me show my face again. Take this time to do some homework. Your homework is create some boundaries. Again, we're at the 6th month of the year. What are your goals for the rest of the year? Who are some people, places, and things that you need to let go of? I wanted you to make sure you heard that, reflect that in your head again of, it's some people, places, and things we need to let go of, friends. So your homework while we're away is create your boundaries. And then check in with me when we come back so we can talk about how you can survive. Okay? I love you all so very much. I do appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, have a great evening. I'll see you on the 26th. Be sure to check in with me. Let me know how you're doing with your boundaries. How you doing with your homework? I'm going to write that down to remember when we come back on the 26th to make sure you did that. Yeah, we got to hold each other accountable. I love you all. Until next time. Let me see what she say. What you say? Oh, it disappeared on me. All right. But here we go. I love you all. Until next time, good night.
Friends, we thank you for joining Jen Cares this week. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Unable to watch us live? Be sure to find us on your favorite podcast platform. You can also visit our website, chozencounselors.com. That's Chozen with a Z, to stay in the know and most of all, never miss a show. If you found value in this show, we'd appreciate you sharing it with a friend. Most of all, be sure to tune in for our next episode as we specialize in bringing the community to you.